Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about one of the emotional techniques that you can use while you are at home. Of course, if you have the advantage of being able to come into the office, we would certainly recommend our bars sessions for your emotional issues that do come up for you. But you can't always be here, and especially with a lot of the things that we're doing being virtual, this is the one thing that you can use at home. And I would recommend that when you start using it, that you use it on a daily basis. Find a nice, relaxing spot in your house. You could sit in the bedroom where you might be able to close the door. Sometimes I even recommend draw a hot bath. Do it while you're in the bathtub. Find a spot where nobody's going to interrupt you. And a lot of times the bathroom is one place that we can close ourselves off and nobody's going to come and get us. So the CRuSH technique is what I'm talking about. The CRuSH technique is for cravings, stalls, and hungers. You'll find on the program, and it's completely natural, that at some point your weight may just stay the same. But when we have food cravings specifically, or we have hunger outside of mealtime, those are typically from an emotional issue that is there. Now, it's not something that we can readily address with our thinking mind. It is something that is in our unconscious or in our less of awareness. So we use this particular energetic technique to try and get at that energy that's underlying that. Stalls are the same thing. There is an emotional component there, but the stall, you're just going to see it's not going to be involved with a meal time. So this is how the technique is done. It's really quite simple. The first thing you need to know is that we have two emotional stress receptors on our forehead. Now in our bars work, we have joy and sorrow. So you can't really have joy. Joy and sorrow, they're like opposites. It's your yin and your yang, your black and your white, okay, your opposites. So that's going to be where our hand ends up, is to connect with those points on the forehead. But we're going to start with our wrist. And if we look at our wrist, there's 4 points. There's one right at the base of your wrist. And then I always tell people, hold it like a guitar. So you have 3 here on the wrist, and then one that's just at the base of your thumb. Now you have superficial and you have deep points there. These are pulses that have to do with the acupuncture meridians. So we're actually contacting 3 points or 6 meridians, superficial and deep, and then the conception and governing vessel is where your index finger is. That's a lot of information. You really don't have to know it, but I provide it for those of you that want to know more. Once you have those points, you're going to put that hand across your forehead again on those 2 stress receptors, and you're going to think about the emotion that might have created that craving. And as you're thinking about that emotion, just close your eyes and you're going to take a nice deep breath in. Now what happens with this sometimes, and I'll tell you my own experience, because the first time I did this particular program, one of my children caught me in the kitchen and I was going into the cupboard and they're like, "Mom, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm getting the potato chips." And they're like, "What do you mean you're getting the potato chips?" I'm like, "I'm going to eat the potato chips." And they're like, "I don't think that's on your program." Well, I just had an argument with somebody and potato chips happened to be my go-to, so I was going for the chips. So they stopped me dead in my tracks, and so off I went to my bedroom to do the CRuSH technique. And so there I was thinking about what had just transpired with this little altercation that got me upset that I was trying to solve with food. And as I did that, by the time I did the one side, I switched over, because you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. 4 or 5 breaths, really breathing, dropping into the emotion of all of that, the frustration that you were feeling. And then all of a sudden I realized that I didn't need those potato chips. Like, I was so glad somebody was actually in the kitchen to check me in that particular moment. So for some of you, you'll have to check yourself, but for me, potato chips is my kryptonite. I don't know what it is for you, but that would have been a craving that was stimulated by that particular emotion. Sometimes there's something that has happened in your past, an emotion will come up. That weight or that stall has to do with maybe you weighed that particular weight, I don't know, 10 years ago, and you were going through a divorce. And so you would go back to the emotions that you experienced going through the divorce, and the same thing. You'll sit with those same emotions while those hands are, touching on those particular points, and you can see those in your documents in a picture as well, just for further clarification, and you'll go right into that. And you may find that you find yourself weeping, or an emotion comes up. It could be a loss of a loved one. A lot of different things that can come up with these. But that's as simple as the technique is just to contact these points on your wrist, to place that hand across your forehead, and then just drop in with some nice breathing and relax. And a minute or two later, you're going to find that you're feeling a little bit better. So I hope that helps.